How about Atlanta 25, Green Bay 24? We called this the game of the week, Sam.
Discord.
The Discord called this the game of the week. They thought it was the closest 1.5 point spread when we picked it way back last Wednesday, and it was real close. But Packers were up 2, ready to cover at the end, but Atlanta gets the win, walk-off field or game-winning field goal, 25-24. And good on the Discord, saying, "Hey, this is the closest game, toughest one to call." You and I were going back and forth. How do you call it? It was a really nice NFC matchup. Atlanta goes to 2-0 here.
Yeah, no, it was a good game. It was a fun game as well. Like any game involving Atlanta is always going to be an entertaining watch because that offense is so unusual by design. I mean, the way it's set up with all these insane matchup weapons, but like helmed by Desmond Ridder. The whole thing is just going to be fascinating to watch in any given week. And Green Bay did their part as well. Like flea flicker, play one, despite them not having their receivers. Like one takeaway I think from Green Bay is that group is good, but they badly miss Christian Watson. Like not having him there, it's the one guy that changes the dynamic because of what he brings to the table, which is that just absolutely absurd mix of athleticism and speed and size and all that kind of stuff. And when everybody else is a complementary piece to that, it's imposing. When everybody else is just, that's your offense, like that's your receiving core, it's like, all right, we've got some nice players here, but we're definitely missing a fairly significant piece of all this. But that flea flicker, I mean, number one, it was a cool play. Number two, those are the types of plays when you start sort of looking back and you look at yardage and, all those kinds of things. Like those are the plays that get missed, right? Because defensive pass interference on A.J. Terrell, first play of the game, deep down the field, doesn't show up in any stats other than one next to the penalty column. But that's a big, deep, explosive play in terms of passing that just gets nullified and gets lost in all the scores. So, yeah, I mean, I was entertained by this game. I thought this was a fun game.
Let's talk a little bit more about that pass game. Then we'll get to the Falcons and maybe some more Bijan love coming up soon. But Jordan Love, he's got another one of those stat lines. He throws for 3 touchdowns again, 113.5 passer rating, 14 of 25 for 151. It's another week. I don't think the grade is going to match that. I don't think it's going to be the grade was fine. I think, he had a dropped interception in there that's probably on the receiver. But you're talking about the young receivers. Hey, if they have Christian Watson there, you're feeling good. Dontavius Wicks turns like a 20-yard pass into a 32-yard touchdown, breaks away. So this is where some of the stats come from Jordan Love. You have Jaden Reed wide open in the flat. You have a tap pass to Jaden Reed for a touchdown. The young receivers are intriguing, Sam. I do love that for the Packers, but with Jordan Love, it did feel like early on, maybe a little bit too quick. The timing of the pass game was off at times, missed a few throws. They did settle down. I'm more impressed with the young receivers, but if they did have someone to tie it all together, I think it would be that much better for that Packers pass game. So Jordan Love, again, I think he was okay in this game. But again, if you look at the 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and the passer rating once again this week, it might not really tell the whole story for Love because of the yak-induced touchdowns.
No, I really am impressed by that young group. Like I don't want it to come off as hating on that group. I'm just saying you put Christian Watson in there and you have something really good actually. Like Christian Watson, Musgrave, Dobbs, Jaden Reed, like that is a very good group of guys, even though the most experienced of them is a second-year receiver. It's just that when you don't have Watson in there, it definitely does miss something and isn't quite at the same level. Yeah, like Jordan Love is at the moment. So I think number one question, right? You're going from this ridiculous sequence of Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to now Jordan Love in the course of like 35 years. The number one question is like, is this guy a viable starting quarterback? Forget anything else. Forget like, can he be the next Hall of Famer in the line? The number one question is, can he do this at all? I think we've already seen the answer to that is yes. Like Jordan Love can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. He's already shown that in 2 games. The question now is, all right, how good can he actually be? That is obviously still an open question. We've only got 2 games. And in those two games, his production or the numbers have not necessarily tied directly to how he's actually been performing. I think there have been some good plays in both games. There's also been some negative plays in both games. So, right now I think step one for them is answered. Like, he can be their guy. They don't have to panic. But it's just going to take time to work out like where he's going to land in the range of outcomes, particularly for a quarterback like him who is going to be stylistically volatile. Like, there are going to be some big plays and some bad plays in there as well. And those guys, it's always about the distribution. Like, what is the frequency of each one? Because that determines, like, Josh Allen and Jameis Winston are in the same side of a spectrum of style of quarterbacks, right? But they're vastly different in terms of how good they are, because the frequency of the things that they both do at similar rates is different, right? And the frequency distribution difference can take you from being Jameis Winston, which is, this is so frustrating, I'm going to bench you and you're never getting a starting job back, all the way to Josh Allen, which is, you're still an all-pro caliber quarterback, even if every couple of weeks we're going to want to bang your head against a brick wall because of the idiot things you're doing. Like, so that's basically where we are with Jordan Love. Is we're just going to have to wait and see.
I thought Jordan Love had some good plays with his legs. A couple first downs, or a nice 24-yarder in there. The last pass that he threw in a comeback attempt, it's fourth down, hits Samori Toure over the middle. Toure kind of loses it on the way to the ground. That was one of the best throws of the day for Jordan Love. Mm-hmm. All I'm warning, this is what we do on the PFF NFL podcast, just warning people, if you look at, 3 touchdowns, no picks, it's like all 3 of those touchdowns were kind of schemed up or because of his receivers. And that's the thing that's influencing your perception of Jordan Love and his stat line. And I just think it's a little off so far. But Jordan Love hasn't been a disaster. I think he's been solid through 2 games. He's been okay. And yeah, like you said, there's more to see there. From a Falcons perspective, I thought it was, last week Atlanta kind of got beat up on the offensive line by the Carolina Panthers. And this was more of what Atlanta was doing last year, that outside zone scheme, across the board, run blocking really, really well. Chris Lindstrom looking like he did last year before he really got paid. Caleb McGarry at right tackle. But boy, once again, I'm more impressed with Bijan Robinson and his ability to just slither through to pick up yards. Yeah. And one of the key plays, 4th and 1 on the game-winning drive, and they pitch it out to him. And, there was a kind of a hole there, but he had to make a quick cut. His ability to just make a cut and see something and react to it immediately and maximize what there is just really fantastic right now, Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson kind of, honestly, one of my biggest takeaways when he carries the ball is how good NFL defenses are. Like, in high school, Bijan Robinson is the kind of player where in high school he would just score a touchdown every time he touched the ball, like, because he beats so many players every single time with a cut or with a move or whatever. And then in college, it starts to look like Reggie Bush, where it's like, it's not happening every play, but it's enough to get you like 9 yards per carry. And then the NFL, it's like all it's doing is turning an 8-yard gain into a 15-yard gain. It's like you're definitely adding value, but NFL defenses are still so good that they're stopping you anyway. There was one run, I don't remember, it was relatively early in the game, and didn't go for that much. It was like a 12-yard carry. But he had like 4 or 5.
4 cuts, yeah. Right? He was slaloming.
Right.
Is that
like
right?
4 or 5 individual moves. Each one gained him an extra like 2 yards till the next guy hit him or the next guy came along. And he had to do this like in a sequence at full speed, in a move. It was like a fluid sort of dance routine. And all it did was gain him 12 yards. You're like, dude, like this is just, NFL defenses are so freaking good that you can have a guy who one-on-one is basically unstoppable. And like he could string a sequence of these together and it's still only going to turn, I don't know what, an average running back maybe gets you 4 or 5 on that play. And Bijan just turned it into 12 by virtue of being one of the best like runners we've seen come along in years. It's just, he's incredible. But it also does remind you just how good or how hard it is to beat NFL defenses.
You mentioned earlier too, kind of the enigma of Desmond Ridder, because again, it's another game. I don't think he was great. Really nice touchdown pass to Drake London in there, but you see what that offense is capable of. Bijan had 48 yards receiving as well. You get Jonnu Smith involved in the pass game. Kyle Pitts did not get as involved in this game. They did target him 5 times, only ends up with 15 yards. But Drake London and Mac Hollins, the two top leading receivers, as we said all offseason here, this entire group of skill positions, from the running backs to the mostly big-bodied pass catchers, the ability to distribute all these mismatch types of players does put a big burden on the defense, and I think we're seeing that so far. Not that it's the best offense in the league or anything, but you're getting some of those big plays from difficult-to-cover receivers from Atlanta.
No, you are. But as we said at the start, it's all going to come down to Desmond Ridder. Now, they're doing some interesting things. Like they've been using Desmond Ridder in the design run game, what we were preaching about. They did it in a really interesting way as well. They had him running essentially a read option from the pistol. Like this is the Colin Kaepernick playbook, right? Like out of those San Francisco offenses. Pistol formation, zone read, Desmond Ridder carries the ball and gains, some yardage. So that, I think, is an important part of this offense. Ritter's biggest problem at the moment, when he gets to the red zone, I don't know what he's looking at. Like, he has throws in the red zone, particularly in the end zone, where I genuinely don't know what he's even reading. Like, it kind of feels... I started playing Madden again recently because Tyler didn't know or didn't specify what platform he had, so I ended up getting his game code. So I've been playing a little bit of Madden recently, and it reminded me that, that stuff we talk about with the S2 cognition score, quick, immediate, split-second processing, don't have that. Never had it, never will. So there are plays where you're like, I want to throw to the X receiver here. And then you read it and like the X receiver's covered, I got to go somewhere else. Mash a button, right? Just hit one of them. One of the other buttons somebody's got to be open. The X guy's covered. One of the other buttons on this controller goes to an open receiver. Just hit one. That's what it feels like Desmond Ridder does in the red zone, right? It's like there's a play designed to go to this guy. That guy's covered. Mash a button. Just hit another button and fire the ball somewhere into the end zone. Let's just see what happens. That's what it feels like. That's how he analyzes the end zone, and like that doesn't fly as an NFL quarterback.